have the NIT tonight right here in Columbia with the Gamecocks, a depleted Gamecock squad now with 5 players suspended going into tonight's game, none of whom are starters, but a few of them, Marcus Stroman, Eric Cobb, Chris Silva, major contributors to the team in one form or another. Those are 3 of the 5 suspended. K-Mac is over at the Colonial Life Arena. We'll catch up with him after the break and get more news on that. High Point also shorthanded, missing 2 of its best players. And so if John Brown were playing at High Point, I would think this could be a relatively competitive game. South Carolina, if they have a mindset, the proper mindset to win a ball game, they should knock out High Point without too much trouble. High Point had a really good year. Of their losses, only one of their regular season losses was by more than 4 points. Winthrop beat them in Rock Hill pretty soundly. All their other defeats were by 3 points, 2 points, 4 points, until they lost to Asheville in the semifinals of the Big South tournament. But they were playing at that point without those 2 players. That game will tip off at 7 o'clock. We've also got games tonight in the CIT. Furman is at home and Coastal Carolina is at home. So tournament basketball is upon us here in the Palmetto State. And, of course, the eyes of the nation will be on Dayton for the games in the first round. There are 2 of them tonight and 2 of them coming up tomorrow. Tonight, it's Farley Dickinson and Florida Gulf Coast, and then what should be a really good game, a couple of 11 seeds, Wichita State and Vanderbilt. USC opened spring football practice this afternoon. They are still going at it on the practice fields over behind Gamecock Park. We'll have coverage of the post-practice interviews for you tonight here on Sports Talk. They're going to bring defensive players over to the media, so we'll have that for you coming up a little bit later on. Chip Weil from Darlington will join us 7:30 to talk about a tremendous race this past weekend at Phoenix, another really tight finish. And is this because of the new rules package in place for this year that's putting more of the emphasis on the drivers and the handling and things of that nature? Or was it just because there was a late caution flag and we had to have an overtime period, and that led to the photo finish that they had? It was a great race nonetheless. We have plenty of time for your calls tonight, 800-956-7266. Give us a holler. We'll be back. Sports Talk in just a moment. Busy night here on Sports Talk. We'll open up the phone lines and take your calls. 800-956-7266 is the number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com. And on Twitter at SportsTalkSC is how you can reach us. And plenty to talk about with USC spring football getting underway, NIT getting underway, NCAA tournament getting underway. Have you filled out your brackets yet? I have not. I've been looking over it. Traditionally, I wait until the first four is complete. So I have a more complete feel for the bracket. Because, you know, the winners of the games matching the 11 seeds, you know, I would give the winner of the Vanderbilt-Wichita State game a decent chance to beat Arizona. Having played a game in the tournament, gotten a feel for it, and all that kind of stuff, I could see that happening. Now, the winners of the matchups of the 16s, of course, they're just lambs being led to slaughter. Florida Gulf Coast, Fairleigh Dickinson winner will get North Carolina. Holy Cross and Southern, when they play tomorrow, winner there will get Oregon. I mean, you know, you don't give them much of a chance. Now, the other 11-11 matchup tomorrow, Michigan and Tulsa. Of course, we all believe that Tulsa has no business being there, but you know, they are. I wouldn't expect them to beat Michigan. Then Michigan would get Notre Dame. And you know what? That could be an interesting matchup in Brooklyn. We'll talk more about that moving through the program. 800-956-7266. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com. Let's go over to the Colonial Life Arena. It's NIT action at its finest. The number one seed USC Gamecocks taking on the Panthers of High Point, but there's news abounding as we go to KMAC for the latest on the Gamecocks, who will not be available and who will be available. KMAC.
Corn, you can't spell attrition without an N and an I and a T. And that's what you're going to be dealing with the Gamecocks tonight. 5 players. That's right, 5 players suspended for this game indefinitely for a violation of team conduct, according to the release from Frank Martin. Marcus Stroman, Jamal Gregory, Marcus Blanton, Eric Cobb, and Chris Silva will all not be on the bench, will not be in the arena tonight because of the suspensions. The biggest 2 losses there, looking in terms of minutes played, that would be Stroman, who's playing almost 15 minutes per game, and Chris Silva is playing about 13 minutes per game and also scoring 5 points and grabbing 4.5 rebounds per game. So those guys, pretty significant losses, but the Gamecocks do have Michael Carrera back. So that's a little boost for them, a little ray of sunshine in that dark cloud. And as we already know, High Point doesn't have its best 2 players. John Brown averaged 19 points a game. He's not going to be on the court for High Point, and neither is Adam Weary, who's out for the season as they're being injured in the conference tournament. He averages 12 points per game. Yeah, 2 big losses for High Point. With those 2 guys, well, they might have won the Big South and might be in the NCAA tournament, but if not, with those 2 guys, they'd be a most formidable opponent tonight for the Gamecocks. And, of course, foul trouble becomes an issue here. P.J. Dozier has had foul trouble all season long. He got into quick foul trouble against Georgia the other night. And now came back with those guys off the bench gone. They can ill afford foul trouble. They can ill afford Carrera re-aggravating the hip and having to go to the bench. There's not going to be much bench depth there. No, you lose 5 guys. I mean, Frank Martin might be pulling people out of the stands before the end of this one. And Carrera was out warming up. One of the trainers asked him how he was feeling. He said he's feeling good. So I don't know if he'll start. I would imagine he will, considering their lack of depth now. So, yeah, that's certainly a big factor for the Gamecocks. And you mentioned P.J. Dozier, who he's been hand checking all season long. He still hasn't figured out in college. They're calling that hand check. They're going to have to keep him out there, and he's going to have to play a lot smarter. And we'll see how they step up. You know, the Gamecocks really rallied when they lost Carrera before the Arkansas game. At the time, their backs were against the wall. We thought that was a game they had to have. It turns out they did have to have it and more. But they did win that game, and they played very well in that game. So maybe some of these other guys that aren't used to getting a lot of minutes will step up, because some guys that you probably haven't seen a lot this season are going to get some playing time tonight. Well, I mean, the only guys left on the bench who have played are Doby and Mackey, and Mackey gets some minutes generally, but not many.
And Dobie has come on a little bit of late and gotten some more meaningful minutes. After that, there's John Reagan, who's a walk-on, who's missed the last 8 games with an illness. Don't even know if he's available. And then you go to another walk-on, Jarrell Holloman. So there's only 2 scholarship players available to come off the bench.
Yes, and let's talk about this too. High Point, they are missing their best 2 players, but this is a team that has won and won a lot. They've won the Big South regular season championship each of the past 4 seasons, so they have a group of players that know how to win. They're shorthanded as well, but this isn't necessarily going to be a walk in the park. Wouldn't have been before, but now the Gamecocks might have to sweat this out a little bit, especially with the letdown effect of the NCAA tournament. That could be lingering. All of a sudden, this is a dangerous game.
Yeah. Actually, they'll have 3 because I forgot. With Carrera back, either he starts and somebody else sits down or he comes off the bench. So they'll have 3 scholarship guys. They'll have 8 scholarship players available tonight. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and, we all know when it comes to the NIT for the BCS schools who are snubbed by the NCAA and felt like they should have been in that tournament, it's all about approach. It's all about approach. That's why you see so many of these BCS teams lose in the first round of the NIT. They don't have the mindset right, and they get beat. Now, usually, if you can get past that first game, as Dave Odom used to say, get past that first game and you feel like you're in the tournament, then you can become a little more excited because the competition will pick up. The Gamecocks, if they win, will host either Georgia Tech or Houston in the next round. I imagine a South Carolina-Georgia Tech matchup in particular would get some juices flowing. Probably have Bobby Crimmins come over and throw up the opening tip, the ceremonial first tip. But anyway, that being said, they got to get past High Point tonight. You see much movement out there among fans planning to come to the ballgame?
It was a short line when I walked in the arena about 5:30, and some students that were trying to get dibs on the general admission seats. It's general admission for everybody, even the media. It has general admission seating across the not the baselines tonight, but the sidelines on the court.
What? What?
Yeah, the NIT rules in effect here. And I think that might be partly due to the setup. They went ahead and set up the court for the NCAA women's tournament, which is coming up here this weekend, so they didn't want to have to rearrange everything again. And the NCAA orders that the media be sitting on the sidelines because that's how the NCAA does things. They regulate everything from the cup you can drink out of to where you sit.
Yeah. Well, I like that part. I like the part about regulating where you can sit. That's a good rule.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for that. All right, K-Matt, we will check back with you before tip just to get more of the build-up and the color and pageantry that is the first round of the NIT. There's really nothing much like it in sports that compares to the color and pageantry of the opening round of the NIT. Yeah, I take that back. The Independence Bowl color and pageantry is pretty similar to the first round of the NIT, I would say. All right, so there you go. K-Mac from over there at the CLA. So 5 Gamecocks are out. They do get Michael Carrera back. The bench will be thin, but considering that High Point, which already would be undermanned at full strength against the Gamecocks, minus their 2 top players, then the Gamecocks should still win this thing without too much trouble. High Point is not going to present much of a problem size-wise. They go 6'7", 6'6" in the front court, and then 3 guards at 6'3", 6'2", and 6 foot. So South Carolina will have the decided height advantage. Even coming off the bench, their tallest player is 6'7". John Brown, if he were available, he's 6'8". What a player he is. 20 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, over 2 assists per game. It's a shame that you're not going to get a chance to see really one of the best players in the country in John Brown play tonight for High Point against South Carolina. All right, 800-956-7266. We'll be right back. Coming up in recruiting, South Carolina's got a quarterback prospect on campus today, watching the Gamecocks' first practice of the spring. We'll tell you about that when we get to the recruiting report and update some other things for you as well. 800-956-7266 is our number. Sports Talk is presented by South Carolina's 529 College Savings Plan. Future Scholar is the smart way to save for a loved one's education, and tax time is a perfect time to invest. Visit futurescholar.com. Future Scholar is administered by the Office of State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Also today, we've got baseball coming up tonight. South Carolina, Clemson, both in action. The Gamecocks at Fluor Field to take on Upstate. The Gamecocks 15-2, Upstate 8-9. And the Gamecocks play Davidson at home tomorrow night. Then they finally get to SEC play with 3 games against Arkansas at home this coming weekend. So we'll finally get a chance to see again what the Gamecocks have. Of course, the Clemson series showed you a little bit. And if you're the Gamecocks, you're not happy with what you saw there. And they continue to kind of flip-flop some things around in the lineup. Chad Holbrook, not one to really sit pat on his lineup, which, I don't know if that's a good thing to continually change players around in your lineup. I mean, I've always been a believer in baseball. If you can find your top 8 guys, with some exception, put them out there and let them play every day. He did that last year, and it really didn't work out well for him, and he's doing it again this year as he's moved some guys around for this game. He's going to have Cone in right field. He'll have Tolbert at first base. Jones will be the DH. Destino will be in left. He'll have Thompson, Williams in center. Bride at third. Cullen catching. Williams, who homered the other day, at second base, and Mooney at short. You look at that lineup, and really, Mooney at short, that's been consistent. And Bride at third has been pretty consistent. Jones DHing and catching, Cullen catching. But Destino, some days first, some days left. He's moved the outfielders around. Tolbert has played different positions in the infield. So I guess he'll give it one more whirl here of checking guys at different spots. And I think it'd be wise to settle on a lineup as you go into SEC play and live with them until – somebody's just going so badly that they're hurting the team, then you make a change. But we all know in baseball, you got to give a guy, if you think he's good, you got to give a guy a chance to work his way out of his slumps. Widener goes to the mound tonight for South Carolina. The Upstate pitcher tonight is Tyler Jackson, a junior right-hander. Upstate comes in with a record of 8-9. First pitch will be at 7 o'clock at Fluor Field. Down in Charleston, at the Joe, Clemson and the Citadel, their first pitch at 7 o'clock tonight. Tigers 11-3, Citadel 7-8. Jake Higginbotham for the Tigers and Alex Bilakis starting for the Citadel. Back in a moment. Back we are, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Phil Kornblut from downtown Columbia on a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Hope you had a great day. No doubt that you did, unless you're stuck in traffic somewhere around the state, Columbia, Charleston, Greenville, wherever traffic can back up. Glad you're listening to us to make the ride home just a little bit better. 800-956-7266 is the number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com. On Twitter, be sure to sign up for our Twitter feed if you haven't already. At Twitter, that is at Sports Talk SC. On Facebook, it is Sports Talk Radio Network. And, of course, check out our website regularly, sportstalksc.com, for all the stories and interviews and recruiting and other information that we come across here on a regular basis on Sports Talk. Plenty of time for your phone calls. We are pretty wide open through the program tonight. So give us a call and let's talk about the tournament. Let's talk about the NIT. Let's talk spring football at USC, spring football at Clemson. That's going to be our sports diet for the most part here for the next several weeks, with a little racing mixed in and a little Atlanta Braves baseball mixed in too, as we get closer to the start of the opening of the season. Also, of course, the NFL draft coming up down the road here in a little while. We'll pick up steam with that, too, in the weeks to come. A few other notes to pass along to you of major interest. And this should generate some discussion around the state. And that is that Molly Spearman, who is the state superintendent of education, is apparently pushing for a uniform grading policy here in South Carolina, in which the grading scale will revert from the 7-point grading scale of now to the 10-point grading scale that I grew up on, and that I think maybe most of us grew up on. I mean, when I was coming along in school, an A was 90 to 100. A B was 80 to 90, or 80 to 89, whatever the case may be. A C was 70, 79, and so on. Somewhere along the line, an A became 93 to 100. A B became 85 to 92. A C became 77 to 84. The point here is, when it comes to college athletics and scholarships and all that, it was hurtful to students in South Carolina to have the 7-point grading scale. So they're going to go to the 10-point grading scale, I believe, as early as next school year. And she told a group of coaches and ADs meeting in Charleston that the scale won't impact only student athletes. As many as 13,000 more students could be eligible for scholarships through the lottery, she said. She expects an official announcement on the policy change in the next week or two. So I guess that's good. You parents out there, what do you think? 800-956-7266. This, according to Jackie Hayes of Dillon, who's in the state legislature, this puts our state on a level playing field with North Carolina and Georgia. And he said that a lot of kids in those states able to get scholars that South Carolina kids aren't able to get because of the grading scale. So good. I guess that's good for the kids in South Carolina, and we're all for that. And what else we have for you? The College of Charleston's losing its leading scorer. Canyon Berry is going to graduate this summer. He plans to transfer to another school for his final year. Working toward a bachelor's degree in physics and a minor in math, he led the Cougars and the CAA in scoring at just under 20 points per game before suffering a season-ending shoulder injury in early January. He told Earl Grant of the decision over the weekend. Then he released a statement through the school late yesterday. So he's a two-time academic All-American, a perfect 4.0 GPA. He's the perfect student athlete, and apparently a pretty good player with a big-time pedigree, of course. So I would imagine that he will find some big-time suitors in looking for him. I wonder if anybody locally will try and make a play for him, Clemson or USC. Time will tell on that. To the phones we go, 800-956-7266. Bob over in Casey, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
All right, Phil. The big news of the day is that USC and Frank Martin suspending 5 basketball players. EA Sports settles lawsuit with college athletes for 60 million fazul, 60 million big ones. It is on ATTYahoo.net, according to ESPN.com. 819 players are eligible for payment.
How much will each get?
Oh, you have to read the whole article. I ain't read it yet. It says, however, the awards will be issued on a weighted scale. So I don't know. Can you explain what the NCAA, with their Neanderthal rules, what a weighted scale is?
I don't know. I imagine it would have to do with whoever's name and image, whichever ones were used the most, probably will get the most money. Is the way I would look at it.
I'll name 3: Ed O'Bannon, UCLA basketball; former Rutgers quarterback Ryan Hart; former Nebraska Aero State quarterback Sam Keller are the lead plaintiffs in the case. They'll get the biggest shares, estimated to be 15,000 fazuls, 15,000 fazuls. 21 other players will receive approximately 5,000.
What's a fazul?
It's a guinea word. It's an Italian word for dollars.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, well, you've only been to Latin and Colombia, I guess, so you ain't been around New York and Miami.
You got that right. You nailed it.
Since you're a Viking, I'm a Cavalier.
There you go.
All right. So you have a good night.
Thank
Just
you.
Read up. My source is ATTYahoo.net. Click on NCAA football.
You got it. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I guess that's significant. The college players, they continue to make some inroads against the NCAA and what they believe is the sham of amateurism, which is being slowly and gradually chipped away at from various angles. And they're going to get paid. They're going to get their money in some form or fashion. Well, good for them. I think that, I don't know, we're probably going to get to the point here. I don't know how many years down the road it will be, but there will no longer be college athletics. Everything will be paid. Everything will be paid out in some form or fashion. And, really, they lost me with amateur athletics when they allowed pros into the Olympics. To me, that just killed the Olympics. To me. Used to love the Olympics when it was, and I know the argument of the United States amateur athletes against the pros from the Iron Curtain nations and how it was so unfair and everything like that. I get that. But then again, didn't you like the idea of us against them? Didn't you like the idea of the group of American collegians going over there and beating the pros from the other teams? It was only until we lost in basketball for the first time that, of course, everybody got upset. And the quality of basketball overseas got better and better, too. Why is that? Because so many American coaches went over there and taught the game and had camps and brought these guys along at a young age. And of course, the way things were done over there, and maybe still are, individuals were plucked at an early age to be a basketball player or to be a gymnast or to be a particular this, that, or the other. Of course, we pretty much do the same thing now in this country, to be honest with you. A lot of coaches bemoan the fact that there's so much specialism in our sports world in the United States today. Kids today don't play 3 sports like they used to. And they don't try and expand their skills across the landscape of the various sports. Now, sometimes you'll get, a football player who will run track. A basketball player might, try and play. You got basketball and football players too, but by and large, especially in the summertime, what are they doing? The football players are doing 7-on-7. The basketball players are playing AAU. Baseball players are playing travel baseball, and that's all they focus on. All right, 800-956-7266. Back in a moment. Okay, we're back. 800-956-7266, the number here on Sports Talk on a Tuesday night, heading into the first games of the NCAA tournament, the first games of the NIT, and the first games of the CIT. Coastal Carolina at home tonight, taking on Mercer, and Furman is at home tonight as well for its first round game in the CIT. And you know what? I don't remember who Furman's playing. Do you remember, Larkin, who Furman's playing? I'll have to look it up. And we'll keep a close watch on that game, as you can tell, as well as the other games and the baseball games, too. 800-956-7266 is our number. A reminder from South Carolina Forestry that insects and diseases, they can be moved hundreds of miles in firewood and threaten our forests, favorite campsites, neighborhoods, state and national parks. Help protect the trees you love by purchasing firewood at or near where you burn it. For more information, visit don'tmovefirewood.org. Some other news notes to pass along that are of interest. Charleston Southern is going to play the first college football game of the season on national television. Announced today, the Buccaneers will face North Dakota State on August 27th on ESPN in Fargo, North Dakota. Be careful what you ask for there, Buccaneers. I know you're doing great under Jamie Chadwell, feeling pretty full of things, but North Dakota State, it's an animal of a different DNA. I mean, I know they're FCS, but not really. This will be Charleston Southern's first appearance on ESPN in program history. Both of these teams should be in the preseason top 10. North Dakota State is a not one, not two, not three, not four, but five-time defending national champion. The Bucs finished ranked number 7th in the coaches poll last season and have 7 All-Big South performers back from last season. The game will be the second consecutive Charleston Southern game on ESPN's two primary networks, ESPN and ESPN2. So Charleston Southern is starting to get a little bit of publicity out there for the success that they're having. So that's good. Good for them on that. What else? What else to pass along? Dutch Fork High School and Independence High School in Charlotte have agreed to kick off the season against each other. And, of course, this will be Tom Knotts going up against his former school, Independence, where he won something like, 110 in a row or something like that. They had an incredible streak there at Independence. The game to be played at Dutch Fork on August 19th. Now, what will make this game an even better matchup? And I wonder if Tom Knotts is doing this knowing what he's got coming. And I'm talking about Jake Bentley. If Jake Bentley ends up transferring from Opelika, Alabama to Columbia, where his father, of course, is an assistant coach at USC, most likely he'll end up at Dutch Fork. And, man, would that elevate Dutch Fork? I don't know what they've got back at quarterback, but they've got Austin Connor at wide receiver, who's a Blazer. We know that, and it's getting some big-time offers. You throw Jake Bentley in there at quarterback, and all of a sudden you've got a pretty magical combination there. The Patriots of Independence had planned to open their season against Mallard Creek, but Mallard Creek is going to open up against Dillon. We told you that back a few weeks ago. So this year's game is at Dutch Fork. They'll play a 2017 game at Independence. So that should be good high school football there. Sorry to report that Arnold Palmer, Arnie, is not going to hit a ceremonial first tee shot at the Masters next month. That's sad. Tim Rosafort of the Golf Channel says that Palmer told Billy Payne this week he's going to have to excuse himself from the ceremonial tee shot he usually hits with Gary Player and Jack Nicklaus. Palmer is 87. He's had some health issues, especially when it comes to swinging the golf club, according to this report. And he's already expected to play a lesser role at his Invitational this week in Florida. His media session was supposed to be done without any cameras. He'll be 87 later this year. So sorry to hear that. I wonder if they will replace him or just go with the twosome of Palmer and Nicklaus. Sure, it still will not be the same, of course, without Arnold Palmer out there as part of the ceremonies to open up the Masters. All right, we're going to hit a break, come back, and give you recruiting here on Sports Talk. And we're back at Sports Talk, presented by South Carolina's 529 College Savings Plan. Future Scholar, the smart way to save for a loved one's education. And tax time is a perfect time to invest. Visit FutureScholar.com. Future Scholar is administered by the Office of State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. To the recruiting report we go now, and USC opened spring practice today. One of the onlookers, quarterback Jelani Woods, 6'6", 230. Ellenwood, Georgia. He and his father drove in from Georgia this morning to spend the day on an unofficial visit. He is one of the quarterbacks Will Muschamp has offered for the 2017 class, and there is strong interest both ways. His coach is Jermaine Smith, who's a Darlington native and who has taken Woods to Columbia before, and he said that he likes South Carolina a lot. He's real interested in them. He can make all the throws. He can make the decisions. He thinks he's a good fit for USC. Last season, Woods passed for 2,400 yards, 28 touchdowns. He rushed for 600 yards and 9 scores. Michigan, Louisville, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Georgia Southern, FAU, Louisville, South Florida, and South Alabama, other offers. USC offered athlete Elijah Hicks of La Mirada, California yesterday, 6 feet, 185. And he said that USC now is really high on his list. He likes SEC football. He believes he will fit the system great. He has talked to Travaris Robinson. Also, graduate assistant coach Blake Gideon was the one who made the initial contact. USC likes him as a DB. Arizona State, Cal, Colorado, Oregon State, Washington State, UCLA, and others have offered him. Today, USC offered 2019 athlete KJ Wallace of Atlanta. Mike Muschamp, brother of Will, is the head coach. Clemson target receiver James Robinson of Lakeland, Florida, was at Florida yesterday. Dutch Fork receiver Austin Connor picked up an offer from Yale. Mercer offered offensive lineman Sami Carley of Lawrence. USC offered 2018 receiver and cornerback Matthew Deshaun Hill out of Snellville, Georgia. And former Clemson guard Patrick Rooks will take a visit to FIU. I'm going with the acronyms for these directional schools? No, just for these commuter schools in the state of Florida. I guess they are more than anything else. UCF, FAU, FIU, UNF, University of North Florida. Who else can we do down there that way? Just makes it cleaner and simpler. There you go with recruiting. Don't forget to check it out on the website, sportstalksc.com, and on Twitter. The hashtag STRecruiting will take you right to all the info. All right, top of the hour break. We'll be back. 800-956-7266 is the number. We'll be hearing from some of the Gamecocks in the next hour from their first day of spring practice under Will Muschamp.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back. South Carolina Radio Network, NIT action breaking out all over. South Carolina out to a 7-1 lead on High Point. The Cavaliers with 4, Thornwell with 3 for the Gamecocks. Make that a 9-1 lead as the Cavaliers now 3 of 4 from the floor. Yeah, he should have his way inside against this smaller High Point team. High Point just a few moments ago hitting its first shot of the ball game. So it's 9-3, South Carolina out in front, 4 minutes in. Davidson and Florida State playing in Tallahassee. It's a 12-8 Davidson game. Akron and Ohio State playing in Columbus, and Akron with the first 3 points of that game. So it's off and running to the NIT championship and the NCAA tournament games as well. The first 4 in Dayton, those 2 are just let's see if they're getting underway here in just the next couple of moments. Yeah, in fact, they are underway. And Florida Gulf Coast has jumped to a 17-6 lead on Farley Dickinson about 8 minutes into that game. And the second game will be Wichita State and Vanderbilt. All right, so we're off and running with that. Oh, by the way, it's which one was it? Southwestern Louisiana? USL? Southwestern Louisiana? No. Louisiana Monroe playing at Furman in the CIT? Louisiana Monroe. Okay. Bob from Casey called back to let us know it's Louisiana Monroe playing at Furman tonight in the CIT. All right. If you want to join us, 800-956-7266 is the phone number. And email talkback@sportstalksc.com. That is the phone number here on Sports Talk, and the Twitter and the email and the Twitter address is @SportsTalkSC. Open for your phone calls here as we move forward on this Tuesday night. We'll be keeping a close watch on the baseball games as well. USC and Upstate playing at Fluor Field in Greenville, and Clemson and the Citadel playing down at the Joe in Charleston. Keep you up to date as to the progress of those games and other baseball games as well. South Carolina now, increasing the lead to a 13-3. So the Gamecocks off to a very quick start tonight over at the Colonial Life Arena. Pardon me. If you want to go, I understand there's ample room for you. There's ample room for you and a friend and a friend and a friend and a friend. So apparently a lot of Gamecock fans deciding to stay home and sit this one out. All right, 800-956-7266 is the number. I'm trying to get to the break here so I can clear my throat and be ready to go. And we'll do that and come back after this break. All right, back we are. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Let's update you on all the stuff going on. A lot of stuff happening. South Carolina exploding to a 20-9 lead on High Point, about a little over 7 minutes in. And Cautious has 9 for the Gamecocks. He's 4 of 4 from the floor. Cavicius has 6. Thornwell has 3. Carrera has 2. And they've gone to the bench and brought in Dozier and Mackey and Doby. So Gamecocks off to a really good start, shooting 64%. And as we suspected, attacking inside, going inside with ease. They've got 16 points in the paint. 16 of their now 22 points coming in the paint. So the Gamecocks, with their size advantage, now shooting 67%. Where was this against Georgia, I ask? Huh? Yeah, you know where it was. Florida State now leads Davidson 15-14 down in Tallahassee. Baseball, top of the second. South Carolina and Upstate, they are scoreless. Nobody has gotten a hit yet. Citadel and Clemson down in Charleston, the Tigers have taken a 2-0 lead on the Bulldogs. Let's see if I can figure out how they did it. They're playing in the top of the first. Tigers have 1 hit and 2 runs. And let's see if I can figure this out. Pender walked. That man Beer doubled for an RBI. And then Wilson sacrificed fly for the other RBI. So Beer and Wilson accounting for the Tigers' 2 RBIs, and they lead it 2-0. 2-0 going to the bottom of the first inning in Charleston. Clemson baseball off to a good start under Monty Lee, especially after winning the opening ACC series of the season last weekend in Wake Forest. Certainly had to make the coach feel good. He's got a series win over South Carolina, and he's got an ACC series win to boot. So good start for Monty Lee there at Clemson. Let's see, a couple of other notes I wanted to mention to you. Rick Pitino today, speaking publicly about the NCAA's investigation of his program. He was on an ESPN show this morning, and he said that his program was and is designed to prevent, as this says, very nefarious activity. The very nefarious activity that was discovered to have occurred between 2010 and 14. And he says you have dorm security people who are being interviewed by the NCAA. Then you have your graduate assistants, and he said one unfortunate was Andre McGee, whose sole responsibility was to make sure the kids get to school on time, make sure they get up in the mornings when they have a presentation or breakfast with the head coach or family. Then he said, and then we have another graduate assistant. So the problem we had is, he said, we did have people in place. And the one person we did have in place whose sole responsibility was to make sure they do the right things. And unfortunately, that was Andre McGee. That was the problem there. McGee was removed from his post as an assistant at UMKC, Missouri, Kansas City, last fall, shortly after the story broke. ESPN reported on Sunday that 3 players have spoken to the NCAA and have confirmed their stories about the various things that went on. Pitino is reportedly set to meet with the NCAA's investigating team next month. He has said on multiple occasions that he's still not been in contact with McGee. He also took a jab at Kentucky. He said, quote, if I could just get Andre McGee in a room for 10 minutes, I would say to him, why would you do this? What purpose did it serve? We didn't need this to get recruits. We're not Kentucky, where we're recruiting the one and dones. We have a different way we recruit. It didn't make any sense what was going on. How these women infiltrated our program is very disturbing to me, end quote. Now, make your jokes here about Rick Pitino and women if you'd like, considering his sordid past of recent years. Kind of hard for him, really, to be standing there or going on the radio or going anywhere in the media and lecturing somebody else, considering what he went through. But I guess, those things are overlooked when you're Rick Pitino and you're who you are and you're making all this money and you're the coach at Louisville. So anyway, that was his story today. He's putting the entire blame on this graduate assistant coach. That appears to be where the blame is heading. Bo Schneider, who was a very good quarterback at UCF, is transferring from UCF to Pittsburgh. He'll have to sit out the 2016 season when Pittsburgh plays at Clemson. As a true freshman last year, he started 3 games, and when the starting quarterback, Justin Holman, went down with a knee injury. In fact, I think Schneider played in Columbia. He passed for 534 yards and a pair of touchdowns. He did have some turnover issues with 7 interceptions. Let me see who the quarterback was. Or did Holman end up playing in that game in Columbia? Was that maybe his injury? Maybe his injury came after that. But for some reason, I seem to recall Schneider playing against South Carolina as well. Let's see here. Let's see. For UCF. In the game that led this game should be it's part of history. It is the game that led Steve Spurrier to resign. Because remember, he said at halftime of the game he realized he couldn't coach this team anymore. Gamecocks were losing at halftime to Central Florida. Yeah, Schneider started. He went 20 of 35 for 189 yards and a touchdown against the Gamecocks and 2 interceptions. It was probably at that point that Spurrier said, yep, I'm done. Gamecocks were losing at halftime 14-8, but ended up winning 31-14. Is this a call for us? Oh, is that right? Oh, okay. Let's go to Cockett in Columbia. Who? What's wrong? You couldn't get a ticket to the NIT game? It was sold out. You couldn't get a ticket?
Oh man, I'm not even worried about it. I think I kind of told you and K Mac and the pro that I was never impressed with the hire from day one. But all that being said, it is what it is.
Which hire? Which hire are you talking about?
I'm talking about the men's basketball.
You talking about Frank Martin?
I mean, yeah. I've never been impressed with the hire. The last 3 hires.
Oh, come on. Frank Martin is getting it done. He is getting it done.
Well, I say
his team has gotten better every year. They are climbing the ladder of respect. They've gotten better every year. Look at the record. They've taken a step up every year. And, it's unfortunate they didn't get it done enough this year to get to the NCAA tournament. But I think the foundation is there for continued success in the program.
Okay, let me say this right here to you. You know or not know, who's on the chairman committee of the NCAA that's the president of the institution here in the state of South Carolina? You know who that person is?
Who is on which committee? You talking about what?
I'm talking about the NCAA. Who is the president or who's the chairman of that committee?
That would be
the NCAA.
That would be the guy at South Carolina.
Okay, all right. Now, my other thing is, I still hear you talking about Rick Pitino. There's one word that I could describe Rick Pitino. Scum. Okay? He was scum a long time ago. And then you know and I know it. I don't like to use the word race card, but I'm going to go with this one. Okay? The man had problems way back when he was not there making an infidelity against his wife. He actually humiliated, tried to ridicule the lady.
All right, hang on a second. Hang on. I'll let you finish because I kind of like where you're going here. I got more to say about that, too. We'll let you finish after the break. More sports talk coming up. right, we're back, and we're going to interrupt what I would expect to be a highly intellectual conversation between myself and Cockett to hear from Will Muschamp. This is a first, ladies and gentlemen. Will Muschamp's first post-practice interview as the head coach at South Carolina after the first spring practice. Here we go. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Practice, how did the guys look?
It's typical first day. A lot going on, a lot of anxiety, a lot of, obviously some things we could really coach from off the film. That's the big thing that our guys have been to this point is very coachable and adaptable to a lot of situations and what we're throwing at them. We threw a lot at them, and but we got a lot to work on, obviously, and the tempo of practice and all of those things we need to vastly improve. But we'll come along with it.
Do you think guys are understanding the tempo you want out of them, especially early on?
I think so. I think, first day, a lot of anxiety out there, a lot of anxious moments, uncertainty of terminology, new systems, a lot going on right now. So you got to understand that, but we still got to demand excellence, and that's what we're trying to do.
Will, help any question, but you see kids' heads spinning, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're just in helmets. But no, but there's a lot going on, and we understand that as coaches. I've been through this a lot as far as the installation process, and so it's just a work in progress. And the biggest thing is, a young man or a unit cannot get down on themselves at this point. We're very early in this thing. We have 14 more opportunities to step on the field and get better. We have a lot of opportunities to step in the film room and get better. And that's really where we need to make a lot of improvement is, understanding the meeting room and how critical it is to take it from the meeting room to the practice field. And when you get in our season and our schedule, you can't rep a lot of things late in the year. You have to be able to mentally see things and adjust to things. And that's where we're going to have to make some adjustments.
Anybody particularly stand out to you, maybe out of the five?
We got a long way to go. We got guys working hard and a lot going on today, and we're in helmets, and we don't play football in pajamas. We actually play in pads. So it'll be interesting. We got some All-Americans out there in shorts, and we'll see what happens when the heat starts flying.
For you yourself, what was it like being out there, being a head coach again?
Well, enjoyed it. Again, I work with the safeties at practice and individual, and I really enjoy that part of it.
Yeah.
But again, just I love coaching football. Whether I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm a head coach, position coach. I enjoy being on the field with our staff. I really enjoy our staff. I really like what we're doing here at South Carolina. We have a very willing, eager group of players, and it's been a lot of fun.
You mentioned the safety play in your press conference yesterday. Do you like having that challenge for you as a position coach?
Absolutely. Embrace every second of it. I may get old, but we're going to embrace it.
The safeties embraced the message that you're not happy. They said what you said yesterday. I'm happy with the way they've.
I don't really care what they think. The bottom line is they need to respond. You either respond the right way or the wrong way. Change happens in life. It's inevitable. And growth is optional. So you either grow with it or you don't. Anything else? All right. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
There you go. He doesn't care if they don't like what he had to say about him. That's a football coach that's going to get it done at South Carolina, unlike anything they've ever had before. We'll be right back. All right, let's update some things. My goodness. High Point on a 10-0 run has closed within 40-38 of South Carolina with 3:10 to go. Hakavicius and Thornwell, 10 each. Cautionus with 9 for USC. Carrera with 8. Hakavicius with another basket. Give him 12. He's 6 of 7. 42-38. The Gamecocks are shooting 58%. They've not taken a free throw in the game. They've turned it over 3 times, 2 times by High Point. 26 points in the paint for the Gamecocks. Did not take a genius to know where they would attack in this one. Meantime, we've got in the NCAA tournament, it's Florida Gulf Coast leading Farley Dickinson 40-19 in the first of the first 4 with about 17 seconds to go in the first half there. Baseball, Clemson still leading the Citadel 2-0, top of the second. Tigers have a runner on second. And USC in Upstate, and it is Upstate taking the 1-0 lead now on the Gamecocks just a few moments ago as they play in the bottom of the second inning. An error involved in the scoring play. So I don't know if the run is earned or unearned, but the Gamecocks now trailing Upstate 1-0. I tell you what, let's go to Chip. We'll get to back to Cockett here if he wants to hang on in a couple of minutes. But Chip Weil, we don't make the president wait, whether it's the president of Darlington or the president of pick a country. The Soviet, well, there is no more Soviet Union. If it's Putin, we don't make Putin wait either. Welcome in, Chip Weil, the president of Darlington Raceway. So good to have you once again. Do you think we've had 2 eyelash finishes here early on? Is that just good luck, or does that have something to do with the new package that they're running this year?
I think it really does have to do with the new package, Phil. 4 races, 2 photo finishes, 2 of the closest finishes the sport's ever seen. I think it's just the leader can't get away, right? Mm-hmm. And at the end of the race, Carl Edwards and Kevin Harvick both had really fresh tires and just banged it out for the victory. It was an exciting event at Phoenix.
Yeah, that's what we want, right? We don't want the leader to get away.
Absolutely not. Yeah, that's not what the race fans pay for when they come to the racetrack. When they're watching it on TV, they want there to be a race and exciting finish, and that's what NASCAR is producing. And we take it for granted the amount of passes that happen during an event. And you look at Formula One or IndyCar or some of these other major motorsports entities. They don't have the kind of passing, but we take that for granted. And I think that this year we certainly are seeing a lot of excitement early, and I just can't wait for the things left to come.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I think we're building towards a great season here, and we're also seeing the wins here early on being spread out among many different drivers. Nobody has repeated yet. You know that will happen, but so far it's 1 win amongst, 5? How many races have we had?
We've had 4 drivers win 4 different races, and all 3 manufacturers have already seen victory lane. That's what this sport wants. That's what the race fans want. They don't want to see one car, one team, or one manufacturer dominate. They want to see it spread out, and we always say you never know who's going to win on any given Sunday. That's how it is right now. You truly don't know what team is going to come out of the box and be fast in that event, and that's what makes NASCAR great. I think certainly this new low downforce package, which NASCAR has been working on for a couple of years to get right, is paying huge dividends. I don't think we're done making tweaks to the package, but certainly they are going down the right path, and it's an exciting start to the season.
What's been the early returns in the first month on the television ratings and attendance?
Yeah, I mean, the challenge of the television ratings nowadays is people consume media in a completely different way than they did 10 years ago, as you know, being in the media business. So we look at a bunch of different factors. We don't just look at the TV ratings. We look at the digital numbers. We look at the social numbers. And there's some really smart people in Daytona Beach, Florida, and in Charlotte, North Carolina, that are really dissecting these numbers. But the early indications is that we're in a really good spot. And we'll continue to see that growth. And heck, with finishes like we had at Daytona and last weekend at Phoenix, how could you not want to tune in and watch some of the best racing in the world?
You know what I really like is the Golf Channel. And I can sit home at night on the weekend, Thursday, Friday, over the weekend, and I can watch the round that was played that day. at the PGA event that I can't watch during the daytime. Why doesn't NASCAR? I know they used to have the Speed Channel. Why doesn't NASCAR have a NASCAR channel on the cable or the satellite outlets that fans can watch and can replay the race on a Sunday night after it was run earlier in the day or later in the week?
Yeah, it's a complicated question, and I don't have a really good short answer for you. But maybe over a beer one night I can explain some of the issues. That's not to say that it won't happen in the future. You look at what the NFL's done with the NFL Network, and certainly what the PGA has done with PGA Golf Channel. But there are a lot of moving parts to those kind of things. A lot of folks spend a lot of money on TV rights and ancillary rights, and you got to get everybody on board. And I don't think we're there yet, but certainly not something that's off the table in the future.
Okay. What else did you pick up from the weekend at Phoenix? Any other news notes?
Well, no, I just felt like it was a great weekend. Kyle Busch dominated Saturday, but then didn't have as great of a run as we all expected on Sunday. The finish was exciting, and then Kevin Harvick sent out an interesting tweet after the fact, a picture of him and Carl Edwards from a couple of years ago in Charlotte, saying no love lost. So I think those guys are still a little upset with one another and enjoy that rivalry. It's funny, the garage is a very small place and a really small family, but there are folks that sometimes just don't see eye to eye and never will. And, still can get along, but they're certainly not like going out for beers like you and I are going to. So, that's just part of it. And I think rivalries are good in sports. So if a Kevin Harvick, Carl Edwards rivalry is in the mix, I think that's good for us and good for our race fans.
Oh, absolutely. And I love the way that not just that the fact that it was a photo finish, but they were bumping and banging on each other coming to the line. It wasn't just, okay, I'm going to give you some room and I'm going to try and out sprint you. They were trying to, kind of knock each other around there as they were approaching the line.
Yeah, and I think that's why Kevin won, is he and the 19 got together coming out of turn 4, and it really broke the momentum of the 19 car, which gave him just that edge he needed to get to the start-finish line first. But Kevin's a really smart racer, and he knows what he's got to do. And I've said this before, I think to you on the show, is Kevin understands that this is more than driving a race car. It's very mental. Getting in somebody's head and playing the mind games is part of his strategy, and he's the master at it. And so I'm certain that he understands Carl Edwards is a guy he knows he's going to have to beat all season in order to get to that championship. And so he's going to do whatever it takes. And heck, he's starting early in the season this year.
That's going to be a great one moving forward as we head towards the heat of summer. What's happening over in Darlington?
Oops, man, what's not happening? So we had a big color run last weekend. We're gearing up for our Run Darlington. It's a half marathon, April 30th. It starts and finishes in the racetrack, but runs through the 5 historic districts of Darlington. It's a great little run. We're also doing a 5K, a 10K, and a 1.366 mile fun run, basically a lap around the racetrack. But a great opportunity if you're a runner out there and you want to come enjoy the sights and sounds of NASCAR. We're going to make it a great event. We did it a couple of years ago and really enjoyed it. And, this is the time of year, Phil, where we do a lot of things for the community. We really focus a lot of our efforts on doing community-style events at the racetrack. So we're going to start doing that here in a couple of weeks, and we're gearing up for Bojangles 7500 Labor Day weekend.
That sounds great. You know what? It will be here before we know it. We thank you. And Fontana is this weekend, California?
Yeah, and I am going to brag on my team. The Sports Business Journal, who I'm sure you know a lot about the Sports Business Journal. It is the sports publication and the biggest sports business publication in the world. We got nominated and are a finalist for Event of the Year. So the Bojangles 7500 is up against Super Bowl 50, the FIFA World Cup, the Breeders' Cup, and Mayweather Pacquiao. So some pretty elite company that we're in, and there's a live award ceremony in May that we're all going to go to, and hopefully we'll bring home some hardware for the state of South Carolina.
Well, that is fantastic. Congratulations, and best of luck to you on that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next week.
Thank you. Okay. Chip Wild, president of Darlington. Meantime, an NBA game has broken out at the Colonial Life Arena. They're at the half, 48-43 USC. We'll catch up with K-Mac after the break.
We want information. Information. Information.
Okay, we're back. Sports Talk here on South Carolina Radio Network, presented by South Carolina's 529 College Savings Plan. Future Scholar, the smart way to save for a loved one's education. Tax time is a perfect time to invest. Visit futurescholar.com, and Future Scholar is administered by the Office of State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. All right, let's go over to the Colonial Life Arena. K-Mac, Kevin McCrary there watching what turned out to be a pretty entertaining second half of the first half. And we'll get to K-Mac in just a moment once we make the connection with him over at the arena. 48-43, USC is leading High Point. Hacavish is having his way inside, 14 points, 7 of 8 from the floor. He's got 3 rebounds to boot. Thornwell, 4 of 6 from the floor, 10 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. Carrera coming off the bad hip with 8 points and 7 rebounds. Kaishanis, 4 of 5 from the floor with 9 points. Gamecocks are winning the rebounding battle 20-12, 30 of their 48 points in the paint. They're shooting 57%, K-Mac, yet they're only ahead by 5.
Yeah, it was a little goofy. They say the three-pointer is the great equalizer, and that's exactly what happened. High Point had a couple of stretches where they were just knocking down trays. They hit 5 shots in a row, 4 of them were threes, and that cut the lead from 18 down to 9. And then they hit another stretch where they hit 4 straight shots. 3 of them were threes, so they ended up with 7 threes in the first half, and that's how they got right back in it. That's how you whittle away an 18-point lead, despite the fact that South Carolina really is dominating for the most part this game. I mean, it looked like it was going to be over before it started when they jumped out to an early 13-3 lead, and they are just so much better than them on the court in terms of their physical advantages, height-wise, strength-wise, speed-wise. Now, they don't have the numbers with the suspensions, but that 3-ball that started going down for High Point made it a game there late.
Speak up a little bit. We're having a hard time hearing you over the roar of the crowd.
Right.
What is the roar of the crowd? What is the crowd?
The crowd is very small. I mean, it's well, I always like to take a cheap shot at Darren Horn, so I'll just call it a Darren Horn crowd. People that remember the Darren Horn era when it got bad around here and not many people were showing up, that's what it looks like now. Very small crowd, the smallest NIT crowd I've ever seen. Now, Horn did, in his first year, take the Gamecocks to the NIT. They played Davidson. Steph Curry was on that Davidson team, and the lower bowl was full. Well, the lower bowl is not even close to full. There's a few students, a smattering of fans, nobody, and I mean nobody in the upper deck, and just a very, very small crowd, way under 3,000.
All right, give the Gamecocks credit. They did not come out and slop around. I mean, they shot 57% for the half, 64% for the first part of the half. It seems like they came out just based on that. Maybe the opponent had something to do with it, but at least they came out apparently focused and ready to play.
Yeah, they did, and they played with a lot of energy, and it looked like they were just going to run away with it. It was 13-3 at the first media timeout, and then they just stretched it out from there. It wasn't until the past 8 minutes of that half when they really, I don't think they started doing anything particularly poorly. It just, High Point was knocking down shots, and they kind of got on a little roll. And the Gamecocks, they did have to go to their bench a little bit, and you had T.J. Dozier. He's a struggling Gamecock right now, as Steve Spurrier once would say about his players, and you have Justin Mackey getting more minutes than normal. So I think the Gamecocks ran into a little trouble when they had to go to their bench. And watching Frank Martin, I pointed him out. I actually tweeted a picture, too. He looks kind of like my 4-year-old when she doesn't get that last cookie. I mean, he's just sitting on the bench beside himself because there's nobody he can go to when these guys aren't doing what they're supposed to.
Okay, K-Mac, thank you very much. And I guess I'll see you over there in a few minutes unless the game is over by the time I finish up here. At the pace it's moving, it's moving pretty rapidly.
Well, they're opening up the locker room for you, Corn, so I hope you get here.
They're going to let us in the locker room, too?
You can go in the locker room. You can actually shower with the players if you want.
What a thrill. Thank you, K-Mac. been a long time since I've showered with an athlete. That's not myself. I mean, when I go in the shower and there's a mirror in there, then I'm showering with an athlete. But a long time since I've done it with a high-level athlete of the collegiate variety. Thank you for that. I guess the NCAA requires that the locker rooms be opened up afterwards for the media. That's good stuff. We got a break coming up. I wanted to bring you another Gamecock, and we still got Cockett holding too. Bless his little heart. We'll hear from a Gamecock football player, and we'll wrap things up with Cockett as well. Clemson is leading at the Citadel 2-0. They're in the third inning there. And Upstate and USC, it's now 2-2. The Gamecocks were down 2-0. They've come back to tie it with 2 runs in the third inning, 2-2, USC and Upstate. Whether you're a part of Gamecock Nation or bleed Clemson Orange, everyone can agree on Founders Federal Credit Union with a convenient location at the Russell House on USC's campus, a new location on Highway 93 in Clemson coming soon. Founders is a sure fan favorite. Visit RelaxJoinFounders.com to see if you qualify for membership. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA. Chris Lamons, one of the USC defensive backs under fire from last season, being watched closely already by Will Muschamp. He talked with the media after practice.
When you hear people say last year the secondary was one of the weaker parts of this team, is that fair? Do you agree with that?
I wouldn't agree with that. It was young. I say we just need a little bit more work.
Does the new staff out there like to say how quick was the practice move?
The practice was up tempo. We was flying around, guys flying around making plays. DBs had about, I want to say, 4 interceptions today. Yeah.
So you feel like you responded well to that safety comment you made yesterday?
Yeah, I started off at safety today. It's different being able to read being able to read the offenses and things. So I think I felt comfortable playing. I was comfortable.
Do you have a preference whether it be safety or cornerback personally?
Say that again.
Do you have a preference which you play? If you got to pick, would you be a safety or a cornerback?
I play corner, but with whatever helps the team, I play safety if that's what the coaches need me at.
Did you do any cornerback today at practice or all safety?
Yeah, one-on-one drills I played corner, but no 7-on-7 or 11-on-11.
How long did it take you to notice that it was different out there? Was it as soon as you stepped on the field? Was it when you got individual drills? What did you realize? This is a whole different setup.
Just everything we went over. Only thing difference was the speed of the tempo from last year. Coach Muschamp wanted the offense to go up tempo and practice against us to keep our stamina and fatigue going. So that's what we did today.
When the head coach is the position coach for your position, how different does that make life?
It make it a little easier. People think it'd be harder because the head coach is on you, but he actually like a father figure to you too. Also being able to coach you and being able to be in your meeting rooms at the same time.
Do you think by the time the fall gets here, the safeties can, and then the secondary can shore up enough to please him?
Yeah, no doubt.
Is a new coach is that kind of like a reset button for a defense that struggled a year ago?
I wouldn't say a reset button, but it's different on us because one year we had one defense, then next year we had another defense coach, then now Coach Muschamp defense. So we just gotta get adjusted to that.
All right, Chris Lamons said the defensive back should not carry all the blame for last year. Don't blame them. South Carolina, Tolbert, a 2-run homer. So the Gamecocks have tied it up with Upstate. Clemson has now gone up 4-0 down at the Citadel. And let's see, I want to give you some other basketball here real quick if I can. Furman trails 29-23. Mercer leads Coastal 26-25. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.